and active means that always we look into strengthen the team. This squad still doesn't have the luxury of not maximizing every single window, and we have to do that because it's really important. But then we want to get the right profile, the right player, and a player that really is going to impact the team and take us to the next level.
Hello everyone, and thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter. And please subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you do not miss out on whatever I've got to bring to you as long as this post and as long as it is Arsenal related right about here at the Arsenal chapter with me, your very host, Abu Karls, as I'm definitely dedicated to bring to you the latest trade as it comes in. You will remember that the club Arsenal is really doing quite well when it comes to the summer transfer window. The general transfer window for the club Arsenal was okay, but the summer transfer window is really going on quite smooth. Everything falling in place for the club Arsenal. I must say things are running as planned and quite well for the club Arsenal when it comes to the summer transfer window. It will be remembered that Arsenal we're going to be talking about a few football players. Moises Caicedo being one of them, and also another football player that we're going to be talking about is the recently linked football player, and that's Mohamed Kudus. And also, there's quite a lot to talk about Mohamed Kudus, and not forgetting that we've also got to talk about Romeo Lavia and many more. So before we go there, we have to talk about a few things that are really happening with the club Arsenal, really coming up with quite a lot. Really, Arsenal is going to be playing a Major League Soccer game, and it's an all-star Major League Soccer game, and that is going to be happening in Washington, D.C. And it will be remembered that Thomas Partey has already joined the club, and plus Smith Rowe, all of them really joined the club. And Balogun is already there. We've got quite a lot to talk about. It's a game that's going to be happening tomorrow. You can go into the comment section and you let us know or the predictions, what you definitely think about this game, and definitely whom you think is going to score, what the goal score, what the score really, where you think the score will be, whether you think Arsenal will win or you think it's going to be a win for the Major League Soccer football club. Football clubs really is a combined, it's an all-star Major League Soccer game between Arsenal and the club. Clubs is combined. Anyway, let's hope really everything will go on quite well for the club Arsenal, and Arsenal will win that game. And we've seen really a few people coming up and saying a few words. We've already seen a few football players who've already signed for the club Arsenal, and one of these football players really being Kai Havertz, who's in Washington DC right about now, and yet another football player that we are going to be seeing who's going to be playing is none other than Jurrien Timber. And Jurrien Timber has come out and said it is a dream come true for him to play for the club Arsenal. In a recent interview, he really said that it's a dream come true. He's already dreamed to play for the club Arsenal, and right about now it's a dream come true for him. And despite the fact that he is one of the best defenders really who came in, and you will remember that he comes in from Ajax Amsterdam, and the fact that he's been playing for Ajax Amsterdam, he's made a big step in his career from the Eredivisie to yet another from the Eredivisie to yet another league, and that's the Premier League, which is the most competitive league in the world. So it is a big step in his career. And I will remember that the club Arsenal battled Manchester United to get a football player, and right about now I can confirm to that he's at the club. And yet the third football player that was signed by the club Arsenal is none other than the 105 million rated Declan Rice. We'll remember that the club Arsenal paid a record fee that had never happened. Arsenal had never paid such an amount of money, £105 million, with £100 million fixed and additional add-ons added up to £5 million, making it £105 million, as that's what West Ham really said they needed for their football player. They wanted £120 million, but negotiations went to £105 million, knocking out the likes of Manchester United, Chelsea, and Manchester City, who were great admirers of the football player Declan Rice. He's officially now a football player for the football club Arsenal. Anyway, let's get the party rolling, and let's talk about transfers. Really, we need to talk about a few transfers. Who is really at the club? Who is going to be at the club? Who is really going to leave the club? First of all, before we go any further, let's talk a little bit about departures. Really, football players who are linked to an exit with the club Arsenal. We'll remember that Thomas Partey heads the line in the football players that could be leaving the club Arsenal. However, it will be remembered that quite a big number of clubs are interested in him, but majorly Juventus came out and said they definitely needed a football player, and there is a big possibility that we could see Thomas Partey going to Juventus, really. And despite the fact that he's been linked to Juventus, also do not forget that there are Saudi Pro League clubs. There are clubs in the Saudi Pro League that are very much interested in the football player. Thomas Partey. But the question is Thomas Partey willing to go to Saudi Arabia, or he still wants to play in the Premier League or in Europe? That is the big question. And you will remember that if really that amount of money that is around £40 million that he's been rated has been given to the club Arsenal could get a better football player, and hopefully he could stay. He's a good one. He could then Arsenal can have an alternative, really big alternative, because one of the problems Arsenal had last season reason as to why Arsenal didn't take their Premier League title is because of depth and a limited squad. And Arsenal having a broad squad, that would be good. So if Arsenal really go on and keep Thomas Partey, that would definitely do the club quite great. They would have better options. And also looking at yet another football player that has been linked to an exit of the club is Balogun. So looking at Balogun, really, he's one of those football players that really are quite good, and he's been linked to a move away from the club Arsenal. He's been on a loan, but recently he's come back to the club Arsenal, and he's looking at an exit. And one of the big reasons as to why he's looking at an exit of the club is simply because the biggest reason is because he did not get the gameplay really he wants, and he still when he was at Arsenal before going for a loan, and he still thinks that he might not get the gameplay he really wants when he remains at Arsenal. The fact that when he's been away, he's really been scoring on almost every game. Balogun has managed to score on almost every game, and I mean what I say, almost every game, and that has been quite brilliant for the football player. And that's why the club Arsenal has really looked into different options really on how they can definitely get how they can get the football player, and how they can get the football player to another club, or keep him at the club Arsenal. So Balogun really, I must say Balogun is a very good one. He's a very good football player, and a number of clubs have come out and said they needed him, and Arsenal really have put a £50 million release clause for the football player. If you need Balogun, then you must have £50 million, and that's quite big money, but I think it's worth, because he's gone to Europe and performed quite well. You get him, then you've got quite a big number of goals on your side. So Arsenal really could also be looking at not selling Balogun, keep him, and he can be a good option for the club Arsenal. Anyway, let's see how all this will transpire. But out of the two football players that I've talked about, none of them really has already left the club. All of them are still at the club, but they are linked to an exit of the club. And right about now, let's talk about who is linked to the club, who is most likely going to be coming to the club. We've got Moses Caicedo to talk about, we've got Mohamed Kudus to talk about, and we've got Romeo Lavia to talk about. Let's start with Romeo Lavia. I will remember that Romeo Lavia is a Southampton football player who's been playing for Southampton for a bit of time after making a move from the club Manchester City. And after moving from Manchester City and moved to Southampton, there was something in his contract saying Manchester City will take 20% when he moves to another club, apart from if he stays at Southampton, then they won't be getting a thing. But if he moves to any other club, and whatever release clause there is, Manchester City has 20%, and I think that's quite big business. It's being valued at 50 million. That definitely means Manchester City could be having a bit of money of that 50 million. And some clubs are also interested, apart from the club Arsenal. Liverpool is interested in the football player, and despite the fact that Liverpool is interested in him, Chelsea has also gone on and made a few contacts with him, plus Manchester United. But Arsenal is also in this race and not nearing any point, not at any point nearing giving up on the football player. And Arsenal has made contact with Romeo Lavia, and hopefully, if things go on quite well, he could be an Arsenal football player. But there is nothing that has come to conclusion just as yet. And Moises Caicedo and his potential move to the club Arsenal, you will remember that Moises Caicedo is one of those football players really that is admired and has been admired big time by the current manager of Arsenal, Mikel Arteta. And Arsenal really was very much into Moises Caicedo and pushing for Moises Caicedo. Arsenal was trying as hard as they could to get Moises Caicedo, but really something happened, and it's sort of been a pullback for Arsenal. But this does not mean that Arsenal is giving up on Moises Caicedo. You will remember that in the January transfer window, he was heavily linked to the club Arsenal. Moises Caicedo was willing to make a move, and Brighton and Hove really could not let him go because they had sold Leandro Trossard, they had sold Marco Cucurella and other more, and they promised him that the price was definitely not right. And 70 million, if any club really came in the summer transfer window and offered 70 million pound or something that is around that amount of money, they would definitely let him go. But Arsenal is preparing a bid to go into a bidding war with the club Chelsea in regards to Moises Caicedo, but Chelsea is really ahead of the club Arsenal, with Chelsea putting in the first bid that was around 60 million pound, and after 60 million pound they put in another bid that was around 70 million pound, and both of the bids were rejected by Brighton and Hove. Brighton and Hove rejected a 60 million pound and a 70 million pound for the Brighton and Hove defensive midfielder Moises Caicedo. And the big reason behind the rejection of the bid is because Moises Caicedo is now regarded as the best defensive midfielder, and the fact that Arsenal bought Declan Rice at 105 million pound, and it is reportedly said that they are almost at the same range, or in terms of quality, almost the same range. Brighton and Hove has had to think about the options, a different way of really approaching this, and they have raised the price of Moises Caicedo, putting him at 100 million pound and rejecting two bids from Chelsea, and that 60 million pound and 70 million pound. And now the question really is, should Arsenal go into this transfer? I will let you decide as Arsenal fans I will let you decide. You can go into the comment section and you definitely decide, because Arsenal has already spent £208 million. Do you think Arsenal should spend another £100 million on Moises Caicedo? The question is yours and you can answer it. Go into the comment section and also let me know what you definitely think about the football player. Anyway, having said that, that is what I had for Moises Caicedo, but there is a big possibility that he could join Arsenal, as Arsenal has quite a lot of money on exposure right about now. The fact that it's potential money, I must say, looking to sell a few football players. Arsenal has the money, could be getting the money anyway. Let's talk about yet another football player, and this is the last one on the list that we are going to be talking about today, and that is none other than Mohamed Kudus, who's been linked to the club Arsenal. You will remember that Mohamed Kudus really is a very good football player, and he's an Ajax Amsterdam football player, and yesterday is when he was linked to the club Arsenal. Links really started yesterday of Mohamed Kudus really playing for the club Arsenal, being linked to the club Arsenal, and he plays for Ajax Amsterdam. In this, the fact that also the club Arsenal has already made business this summer transfer window with Ajax. They at good terms and they are willing to sell to Arsenal, and as long as the price is definitely right, they're willing to sell to Arsenal. And the fact that Jurriën Timber is a football player that really has come from the Eredivisie and from Ajax Amsterdam, and Arsenal has done good business with Ajax Amsterdam. Arsenal is looking at getting the second football player from Ajax Amsterdam, and that is none other than the Eredivisie superstar Mohamed Kudus. And it will be remembered still that the football player has been rated to be one of the best forwards in the Premier League. In the Premier League and the Eredivisie. So he's also got quite a big relationship with Jurriën Timber, and it is reportedly said that Jurriën Timber really could help out when it comes to this transfer. He could talk him through in case of anything. If anything is really needed, if any help is really needed, then he is definitely willing to help. And I think it's going to be a massive thing. It's going to be a very good thing for the club Arsenal, if Arsenal really can sign Mohamed Kudus, because he's a very good one. He's a brilliant football player, one that any club would definitely want to have. It is in its initial stages. The transfer is in its initial stages, but once it is a deal that is done, sealed and confirmed, I will definitely give you everything. Anyway, I would make sure every step in this transfer, I bring it to you straight, live, loud and clear. And please, right about now, I think I should say goodbye. Thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter, and thank you for being part of this podcast. And please subscribe and ring that notification bell so you do not miss out on whatever I've got to bring to you, as long as this sports and as long as it is Arsenal related, right about here at the Arsenal chapter with me, your very host, Abu Carls, as I tell thank you and goodbye for now.